They never saw you. Not truly. Not when you were there. Not when you were reaching. Not when you were breaking yourself apart just to hold them together. You were the one who answered their calls in the dead of night. The one who forgave their betrayals. The one who bent, stretched, and shattered under the weight of your own loyalty. And what did it bring you? A quiet dismissal. A fading presence in the background of their lives. The same hands you held up when they were drowning, left you to sink when it was your turn. They took your kindness as weakness, your patience as permission, your love as an expectation rather than a choice. And the more you gave, the more they demanded, never once considering the cost. Because to them, you were always there, always willing, always available. That was your first mistake. Because the world does not reward those who bleed freely. It does not cherish those who are always within reach. It does not respect what does not demand to be respected. You thought they would appreciate you for being selfless. You thought your sacrifices would be remembered. But the truth is cruel. No one values what they do not fear losing. They kept you close, not because they cared, but because they knew you would never walk away. They knew you would keep proving yourself, keep lowering yourself, keep offering parts of your soul in exchange for a love that was never real. But when did they ever stop to ask if you were okay? When did they ever look into your eyes and see the exhaustion, the loneliness, the silent scream behind your smile? They didn't. Because you were never enough for them. Not because you lacked anything. Not because you weren't worthy. But because you were always there. The world does not chase what stands still. It does not beg for what is handed to it. It does not respect what does not demand a price. You made yourself accessible, so they assumed you had no worth. You made yourself their safety net, so they never feared the fall. You made yourself their crutch, so they never learned to stand on their own. And they discarded you the moment you were no longer convenient. Because that's the brutal truth, isn't it? People do not appreciate what they think will never leave. They call you only when they need something. They reach out only when their world is falling apart. They remember you only when they have no one else. But when they are whole, when they are happy, when they are winning, you are nothing but an afterthought. And the worst part, you allowed it. You convinced yourself that if you just gave more, if you just tried harder, if you just proved your worth one more time, maybe this time they would see you. But they never did. And they never will. Not until you disappear. Not until they reach for you and find nothing. Not until you are no longer waiting on the other end of the line. And by then, it will be too late. Because the person they used to take for granted will no longer exist. There comes a moment in every life when the mask shatters, when the illusions die, when you wake up and decide, enough. You wake up one day and everything is different. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. There is no grand revelation, no final conversation, no explosive betrayal that sets the fire. Just a quiet, suffocating realization. Enough. Enough bending. Enough proving. Enough waiting for people to value what they never will. That's the moment. The breaking point. It doesn't come with anger. It doesn't come with tears. It comes with silence, the kind that settles deep in your bones. A silence so absolute that it drowns out every excuse, every false hope, every lingering delusion you once held. Because for the first time, you see things as they are. The love you begged for, it was conditional. The people you held up, they never looked back. The respect you thought would come, it never existed. And suddenly, the old you begins to die. Not all at once. It's slower than that. More painful. It dies in the way you stop answering messages that only come when they need something. It dies in the way you stop explaining yourself to people who never listened in the first place. It dies in the way you stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. Because that's the shift from desperation to indifference. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop craving validation. You stop chasing ghosts that were never meant to stay. And something strange happens. The weight that sat on your chest for years, it starts to lift. The anxiety that gnawed at your mind, whispering that you weren't enough, it fades. The need to prove yourself to people who never deserved you, it burns away like fog in the morning sun. Because respect, it was never something you had to earn from them. It was something you had to demand from yourself. You were taught that if you were kind enough, patient enough, strong enough, people would finally see your worth. But that's the lie, isn't it? The world does not reward quiet suffering. It does not hand out medals for endurance. It does not respect those who ask for it. Respect is not given. It is taken. And taking it requires something brutal. Something most people never have the courage to do. You have to kill the version of yourself that was willing to beg. The version of you that waited for others to recognize your worth. The version of you that gave second chances to those who deserved none. The version of you that was terrified of being alone. Because that version of you was never going to make it. That version of you was a product of conditioning, trained to believe that suffering would lead to love, that self-sacrifice would be rewarded, that being there for everyone would make them be there for you. But now you know better. You know that your presence is a privilege, not a right. That your time, your energy, your loyalty, these are things that must be earned, not freely given to those who squander them. And so, you walk away, not out of hatred, not out of spite, but because you refuse to live as a half version of yourself for people who would never bleed for you the way you bled for them. Because the most dangerous person is not the one who rages, not the one who seeks revenge, not the one who still cares. The most dangerous person is the one who no longer needs anything from anyone. And that is who you are becoming. You disappear, not physically, but mentally. And that's when they start to notice. You didn't make an announcement. You didn't scream your departure into the void. You didn't leave behind explanations or ultimatums. You just disappeared. Not physically, not in a way they could see, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you detached. And that's when they noticed. At first it was subtle, a missed call, a message left on read, an unanswered question hanging in the air. Then it grew. The absence started to take shape. The version of you that once waited, listened, and accommodated. Gone. The version of you that always had an open door, an open heart, an open hand. Vanished. The version of you that allowed them to pull you back whenever they pleased. Dead. And suddenly they felt it. The silence. The distance. The absence of someone who was once so available, so willing, so easy to reach. Because that's the cruel trick of human nature. People only miss what they can no longer have. They never appreciated your presence. But the moment you were gone, it became a void they couldn't ignore. They started searching, reaching, wondering. Where did you go? Why are you different? Why don't you talk like you used to? The same people who ignored you now watched you. The same ones who took you for granted now questioned your silence. Because mystery is power, distance is leverage, absence is control. And for the first time in your life, you were untouchable. Most people make the mistake of seeking closure, of making their absence loud. But true power is in silence. You didn't leave with noise. You left with indifference. You didn't explain why you changed. You let them wonder. You didn't seek validation. You let them doubt their own. You didn't show them how much they hurt you. You let them realize it on their own, because nothing is more haunting than an unanswered question. And now, you are the question they cannot answer. There was a time when you tried to be everywhere for everyone. You spread yourself thin, stretching your soul to fit spaces that never fit you. Not anymore. Now your presence is a privilege. Your time is currency. Your energy is gold. Not everyone can afford it. You are no longer the person who shows up just because they asked. You are no longer the person who answers just because they called. You are no longer the person who proves their worth to people who failed to see it. Now you choose. You choose where to be. You choose who gets access. You choose when to show up and when to disappear. Because the secret to power is not in being seen. It is in being missed. And now they miss you. They say time heals all wounds, but that's a lie. Time only makes people forget the things they took for granted until it's gone. That's what's happening now. Your silence is louder than your words ever were. Your distance is more painful than any argument could have been. Your absence is the only thing that forces them to acknowledge what they ignored. And the irony? They still don't respect you. They respect your absence. Because it's no longer something they can control. You have become untouchable. Once you reach this place, there is no going back. Because the moment you allow them to access you again, the moment you let them pull you back into their web, you lose everything. Mystery fades, scarcity disappears. And suddenly, you are no longer the enigma they can't figure out. You are just another option. And you are not an option. Not anymore. They didn't respect you when you were there. They don't deserve you now that you are gone. So let them wonder. Let them regret. Let them search for a version of you that no longer exists. Because you have already moved on. And now, the shift begins. When they start chasing the ghost they once ignored. At first, they didn't care. They laughed at your silence. shrugged off your absence, told themselves you'd be back because you always came back. But then the days stretched into weeks, the weeks into months, and suddenly a thought slithered into their minds, unwelcome and unshakable. What if they're not coming back this time? At first, it's just a flicker of curiosity, a passing thought. Then curiosity turns to concern. Concern turns to frustration. And frustration becomes desperation. Now they start searching for you, watching from the shadows, asking mutual friends if you've changed, stalking your presence, trying to decipher your silence like it's a language they were never taught. The irony is cruel. The moment they lost you, you became valuable. You never changed. You never became more worthy, more deserving, more important. The only thing that changed? Access. You are no longer a free resource, always within reach. You are no longer an open door, waiting to be walked through. Now, you are scarce, and scarcity, it makes people panic. Because people don't crave what's abundant. They don't respect what's easy. They don't chase what they know will wait for them. They only want what they fear losing forever. And now that you're gone, they feel that fear. They wonder if they miscalculated, if they pushed too far, if they underestimated you. They replay old conversations in their heads, searching for the moment they lost you. They recall the times they ignored your messages, the times they made you feel small, the times they treated you like an afterthought. They realize, too late, that those were the cracks, the warning signs, the countdown to your disappearance. And now, they need you. But you don't need them anymore. The first time they reach out, it will be casual. Forced indifference masking their rising panic. Hey, been a while. How have you been? A message that once would have sent you spiraling. Now, it means nothing. Because you see it for what it is. They don't miss you. They miss control. They don't regret how they treated you. They regret losing their ability to manipulate you. And when you don't respond the way they expect, when you give them nothing, that's when the mask starts to crack. Hey, did I do something wrong? I just feel like you've been distant lately. I don't understand why you're acting this way. They will frame it like they are the victim, like they are owed an explanation, like you suddenly changed overnight. They will pretend they don't know what happened, but they do. Oh, they do. Because they feel the power shift, the leverage they once had. Gone. The influence they once wielded, shattered. The version of you that once tolerated their neglect, dead. And when they realize they can no longer reach you, that's when they panic. That's when the desperation sets in. And desperation is ugly. This is the hardest truth to swallow. They are not chasing you because they suddenly appreciate you. They are not reaching out because they finally understand your worth. They are not desperate because they love you. They just hate losing control. You were their safety net, their convenience, their backup plan. You were the one who made them feel important, even when they treated you like an afterthought. You were the one who stayed, no matter how many times they pushed you away. Now that you've left, they are not grieving your loss. They are grieving their power over you. Because deep down, they never thought you'd be strong enough to walk away. They never thought you'd be capable of cutting them off. They never thought you'd realize you never needed them at all. And now they will do anything to get that power back. They will apologize. They will reminisce about the good times. They will swear they have changed. They will use guilt, nostalgia, anger, any weapon they can find. But you see through it. You see the manipulation for what it is. You see the game they are trying to play. And this time, you don't play. This is the moment they never expected. When they reach for you, and you are not there. When they try to pull you back, and there is nothing left to grab onto. When they scream into the void does not answer. Because you are gone. Not just physically, not just emotionally. You have evolved. And there is no returning to the person who once tolerated their disrespect. You are scarcity now. You are a closed door. You are the thing they fear losing most. And you will never be theirs again. Now the final realization sets in. The truth they never wanted to admit. You never needed them at all. You spent years chasing ghosts, chasing approval, chasing love that was never real. But now, standing on the other side, you see the truth for what it is. It was all a lie. The respect you wanted. It was never freely given. It was dangled in front of you like a prize. But only if you played by their rules. Only if you stayed in your place. Only if you remained small enough for them to control. The love you craved, it was conditional. It existed only when you were convenient. Only when you served their needs. Only when you didn't ask for too much. They didn't love you. They loved the power they had over you. And when you walked away, that power died. You thought you needed their approval. You thought you needed their acceptance. But then something happened. You built yourself without them. You started moving in silence. You started working in the dark. You started pouring into yourself the way you once poured into them. And suddenly, their opinions became meaningless. Because your success does not need their applause. Because your growth is not defined by their recognition. Because their validation was never proof of your worth. It was proof of their control. And now that you have mastered yourself, they can't take it away. They cannot touch what they once dismissed. They cannot own what they once ignored. And that is what drives them insane. Because you do not care anymore. Nothing is more powerful than indifference. You used to respond to their silence with more effort. You used to interpret their neglect as a challenge to prove yourself. You used to give them unlimited chances, thinking that one day they would finally see you. But detachment changed everything. You stopped explaining. You stopped expecting. You stopped needing. And in that moment, you became free. Because the truth is, you never needed them. Not their validation, not their recognition, not their love. They were not the source of your worth. They were the distraction from it. And now you have stepped into the person you were always meant to be. They never saw you for what you truly were. They only saw what they could take. They only saw what they could use. They only saw what they could control. But now they see it. And now, it's too late. Because you are no longer seeking a seat at their table. Because you no longer need their permission to exist. Because you have built a kingdom where their opinions hold no power. And the coldest truth of all, you never needed them. They needed you. And now, you are nothing but a ghost. One they can never hold again. They never feared losing you. Not when you were always there. Not when you forgave every betrayal. Not when you waited, hoping they'd see your worth. No, they only feared it when it was already too late. Because that's how the mind works. Humans don't cherish what they have. They panic when it's gone. And now, that panic is setting in. At first they ignored your silence. Then, they noticed it. Then, they questioned it. And now, it consumes them. Loss is more powerful than gain. Psychologists call it loss aversion. The fact that people feel the pain of losing something far more intensely than they feel the joy of gaining it. In simple terms, they didn't care when they had you. But now that they don't, it's all they can think about. They replay old conversations, dissect your last words, search for clues in your silence. They wonder if they pushed too far, if they crossed a line, if they were wrong about you all along. They convinced themselves it was a misunderstanding. They didn't mean to lose you. That if they just say the right thing, act the right way, pull the right strings, you'll come back. But you won't. Because this is the lesson they never wanted to learn. You cannot take people for granted forever. Eventually, even the most loyal hearts turn cold. And when that happens, there is no way back. People only respect what they can't reach. They say respect is earned. That's a lie. Respect is taken. Respect is demanded. Respect is built on scarcity. The reason they never valued you wasn't because you weren't good enough. It wasn't because you didn't deserve it. It was because you were too easy to access. They had unlimited supply, so they placed zero value. They assumed you would always be there. That no matter what they did, they could reach for you, call for you, drag you back into their world whenever it suited them. But now you're a locked door, a whisper of a memory, a name that lingers on their tongue with regret. And the moment you became unreachable, you became important. Because people don't chase what stands still. They don't beg for what they already have. They don't respect what has no cost. They only want what they think they can't have. And now, that's you. Why silence hurts more than confrontation. Most people think the opposite of love is hate. They are wrong. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. Hate means you still feel something. Hate means they still have power over you. Hate means they still exist in your mind. But silence is the death sentence. Because silence is cold. Silence is unshakable. Silence leaves them alone with their thoughts. And that is the one thing they cannot escape. They would rather you scream. They would rather you beg. They would rather you fight. Because a battle means there is still something left to fight for. But silence means it's over. Silence means they lost. Silence means you don't care anymore. And that is the deepest cut of all. The war is over, but only for you. They still fight battles in their mind, replaying old memories, creating scenarios where they win you back, searching for cracks in the walls you built. They still wage war, trying to pull you into their game, hoping for a reaction, desperate for proof that they still matter. But you are already gone. Because the war ended the moment you walked away. And the only thing more powerful than winning is refusing to play at all. Now you are a ghost in their world, one they can never touch again. They never thought twice about you before. You were there, predictable, constant, a background character in their story. Someone they could overlook, someone they could dismiss, someone they assumed would always be around. But now they watch. Now they wonder. Now they can't stop thinking about you, because you are no longer standing in their shadow. You have become the ghost that haunts them. They look for you in places you used to be. They search your name in conversations they never cared about before. They scroll through old messages, trying to pinpoint the moment you slipped away. But you are not there. And that is what drives them insane. Legends are not born. They are created through absence. The cruelest truth of all. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to prove anything. You just needed to disappear. Because people don't become legends by being seen. They become legends by being missed. And now, you are the mystery they can't solve. The story they keep telling themselves. The unfinished sentence they wish they could rewrite. They never feared losing you, until they did. And now, they are trapped in a prison of their own making, chasing a memory that no longer belongs to them. They used to ignore your words. Now they analyze them. They used to take you for granted. Now they count the days since you left. They used to believe you would always be there. Now they fear you never will be again. And that fear, it eats at them. Because in their mind, you are no longer just a person. You are a question they will never answer. Why did they leave? Did they ever care? Were they always this powerful, and I just never saw it? They do not realize that the moment you walked away, you won. Because now, you exist in their mind forever. Not as the person they once knew, but as the one that got away. Once upon a time, you would have wanted this. You would have dreamed of this moment. The day they finally saw your worth. The day they finally regretted everything. But now you are too far ahead to care. Because what they don't realize is this. Their regret is no longer your concern. You have outgrown the version of yourself that needed their approval. You have evolved into someone who does not seek validation. You have become untouchable. And the most poetic revenge. You will never look back. Because you do not need closure. Because you do not need their apology. Because you have built something greater than anything they could have ever given you. And now they are the ones left behind. When they finally see you at the top, don't look down. They didn't respect you when you were there. Not when you cared. Not when you tried. Not when you bent over backwards just to be seen. They only started watching when you became unreachable. They only started respecting you when they realized they could no longer have you. And now, they wonder. They regret. They drown in the silence they once forced upon you. But you don't hear their screams anymore. Because you are too high to listen. They will try to pull you back with apologies, with nostalgia, with empty words dressed as sincerity. But the truth, some people only learn through absence. Some people only realize what they had when it's gone. Some people only start valuing what they ignored when it becomes untouchable. And that is not your concern anymore. You do not owe them explanations. You do not owe them another chance. You do not owe them the privilege of your presence. You owe yourself the life they tried to keep you from having. They will see you again, but only from a distance. One day, they will see you, not as the version they once knew, but as someone they never thought you could become. They will hear your name in conversations they are no longer a part of. They will see your success from behind a screen, watching as an outsider. They will realize with a pain they cannot shake that you never needed them at all. And in that moment, they will understand the price of taking you for granted. But by then, it will be far, far too late. Don't look down. You have climbed too high. You have fought too hard. You have become too powerful to waste a second wondering if they finally understand what they lost. It no longer matters. They are beneath you now. Not out of arrogance, not out of hatred, but simply because they chose their position the moment they underestimated you. So when they finally see you at the top, don't look down. Keep going. Keep rising. Because this time, there is only one person you answer to. Yourself. They lost you. That's their burden to carry. But you're just getting started. So if you're ready to keep rising, to keep moving, to become untouchable, you know what to do. Subscribe. Not for them. For you. Because this is just the beginning.